Hi everyone! So today we're just going to talk about our experiences of learning German as a foreign language.
Introduce yourself in German and one fun fact about yourself.
Okay, hallo, mein Name ist Nelvin, ich komme aus Malaysia und ich kann 8 Sprachen sprechen.
Hallo, ich heiße Petra, ich komme aus Ungarn und ich bin Zumba-Instruktorin.
Hallo, ich heiße Emma, ich komme aus Frankreich und was ein bisschen lustig für mich war, ist, dass ich einen Bus genommen habe und im falschen Land dann angekommen bin.
Ich heiße Ashley und ich komme aus England. Oh, nein, ich kann nicht sagen. Ich habe einmal eine Stadtjahr durch Europa gemacht. Ja, es war mit meiner Universität.
Ich heiße Daniel und ich hasste Bier, bevor ich nach Deutschland kam.
What is your German level now?
It is level A2, which is the second level of 6 levels from the bottom.
I'm somewhere between B1, B2, but haven't really tried to do any exam because they cost a lot.
I'm not really sure. I think it's maybe B2 C1 as it has been for the last 3 years because I haven't practiced that much.
Very low. I can just about get by, but yeah, I haven't taken a course in a few years. And I just work in English and I study in English, so my German is not great.
I think it's probably around C1, I would say.
And where did you learn the language?
So I learned it in Germany when I came to Germany about 2 years ago, and yeah, with the university.
I used to have lessons from my friend's mum when we were in primary school, but I forgot everything I learned there, and then I started again when I moved to Munich about 3 years ago, and I've been doing that since then.
I first learned German in school. It's my first foreign language, so I learnt it. I've learnt it since I was 11, and then I just learnt it a little bit more living in Germany, but I haven't practiced that much.
I learnt German in school. I did it up until my A level, and then when I came here to au pair, I did some more German classes, but it was more just conversational classes to practice my speaking, because my speaking is awful. If you can't tell already.
I learned it mainly at high school. When I was 16 I started and then I learned for 4 years. And I've been learning since then.
Und was ist dein Lieblingswort?
Mein Lieblingswort ist vielleicht zwischen Verschlimmbessern und Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude ist eigentlich sehr gut.
Aber ich mag die SCH. Ja.
Mein Lieblingswort ist Stau. Because I think it's very, very representative. It means traffic jam in English, and it just sounds so German. Stau, just say it.
Mein Lieblingswort ist Kartoffelsalatkopf.
Mein Lieblingswort ist Treppenwitz. And it's basically the joke you think of after you've already gone up the stairs or down the stairs. Too late.
Mein Lieblingswort? Ich würde sagen schummeln. To cheat. Because it just sounds so funny and it's easy to say, unlike many other German words.
What was the first word you learned?
I learned... Okay, well, I would say ich, but then that would be very boring. So the first word I learned actually is Gemeinschaftsgefühl, because it was like a German term that we had to learn in course.
I think the first word, probably when I was little, was something like danke or ja, nein, something like that. Or Hund, probably.
Pimmelitscher. Maybe the second after like hallo or something like that. But that was pretty early on my German learning. It was a German friend that taught me.
Ich, du und dann es war mit sein und habe.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Maybe it's more like a sentence, but I think the first thing I learned was wie geht's? How are you?
What is the most difficult grammar rule?
I can't decide between two, but if I really have to choose, I would pick the article, der, die, das. It's not exactly that it's difficult, that I cannot understand the cases. It's difficult because I don't know what the gender of the objects is. So I don't know, okay, well I know now that Tish is a guy, but then, I mean, how would you know that without learning it with it, you know? So that is the most difficult.
The whole business with the daddy das, it's just, I just cannot wrap my head around that. It's just like, why do you have three? Like, why? It's really hard.
I think Genitiv is the most difficult thing for me because I know that there's meant to be, I like des something and then I'm just like, I don't know whether to use it or not or how or when, and then, yeah, I generally just skip it, or I just put des and then I put s at the end and I'm not sure if it's right. And basically I just don't really know the rules so well, and I think the other grammar rules in comparison are relatively, well, they're annoying, but they're relatively easy once you know the rule.
All of the cases. Like the cases are just so hard, like knowing when to use the dative or the accusative or the genitive is just, and then all the word, the changing, der, die, das, dem, den. Ugh. No.
Most difficult grammar rule. So in German you have to do a lot of inflections with the nouns and the adjectives, and separately they are all quite simple, but once you have to combine all of them in the sentences, which tend to get very long, then you really have to know your grammar and pay attention not to make a mistake. I would say that's pretty challenging sometimes.
Which word annoys you the most?
Which word annoys me the most? Actually, instead of a word that annoys me the most, it's a combination of words. Probably like, for example, if one word ends in a sound and the next would have to start with a sh sound, it is difficult for me because I'm not used to changing. Like for example, bis später, I literally have to stop right in between those two words completely so that I can roll my tongue to the back to make the sh sound. So that's annoying for me.
I don't really like when people say Schatz, means like sweetheart. I really don't like that. It's so strange. It doesn't sound cute at all. It sounds like an insult to me. It's meant like a nice little phrase you say to someone you love. It's just weird.
Schatzi. I hate the word Schatzi.
Oh, that's an easy one. Rohr. I can't even say it. Rohr. I'm probably saying it wrong. It means pipe. R-O-H-R, and it's so difficult to pronounce. I just avoid to say this most of the time.
Say 26 in this language.
Yay, 26.
Say 41 in this language.
41.
Say 52 in this language.
52.
Say 12 in this language.
12.
Say 88 in this language.
88.
Was war das erste Buch, das du diese Sprache gelesen hast?
Ich habe noch nie ein ganzes Buch gelesen, aber ich habe die deutsche Ausgabe von Harry Potter, Philosopher's Stone, ich glaube, ein bisschen gelesen. Vielleicht die erste Seite oder etwas.
Ich habe kein Buch gelesen. I started Harry Potter, the very first book, and I read about 15 pages of it, and it took me forever to read just one page with the dictionary and trying to put it all together, and then I just gave up.
Oh, das ist eine sehr gute Frage. Das weiß ich überhaupt nicht mehr, aber das war ein Theaterstück. Keine Ahnung. Das war in der 6. Klasse.
Es war Wiedemann und der Brandstifter.
Das war... Was ich... das war ein Krimi und der Titel war Cherryman jägt Mr. White. Ich erinnere mich nicht, wer das geschrieben hat. And it was pretty average, I would say. Not very good. But that was the first one.
Name a German funny saying that you know.
Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. That's like my favorite because it doesn't really exist an alternative in English.
I don't really know any sayings, but I know a lot of Germans tend to put oder at the end of every single sentence as not sure what, but that is a very frequent sentence ending.
Sich zum Affen machen. That means to make a fool of yourself, like you make an ape of yourself. And I like that because I like monkeys. And I like to make a monkey out of myself.
Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. Which is all Greek to me.
What I have heard Germans say a lot, and I like it, is that when they take a photograph, instead of saying cheese or something like that, they just say, many say, Ameisenscheiße, because that makes you smile.
What is the weirdest phrase you heard native speakers use, but you would never use for yourself?
I heard my colleagues and my supervisors say, das ist nicht so sexy for like a presentation or an essay or something, and it's like, for me that's really, really strange. I would never say that something like a text box placed somewhere on a slide doesn't look sexy. I wouldn't say that.
Krass. I would never say that because it sounds like gross or something like that. Krass. Total krass.
This is mir Wurst. which basically means whatever, right? It's equal to me, I don't care. But it literally means, to me, it's just sausages.
Say something to all viewers who are interested in learning German.
German is really not as difficult as some YouTube videos show you. So, for example, we don't say Schmetterling for butterfly, but it's actually a really beautiful language, especially if you like languages. If you're from Malaysia, I feel like it's gonna be quite an easy language for us to learn because we can speak many languages initially. So, yeah, learn some German and don't give up.
Yeah, once you get the hang of the language and you're surrounded by it, then it's easier to pick it up. If you ever want to learn German, go somewhere where they speak it because it's going to be a lot easier. But I guess that's true for any language.
Beware. No, I don't know. I think a lot of people say that German is a very ugly language, and I never had that thought, or I never shared that view of German, but I do think that it can be relatively difficult to learn, only because of all of the cases and everything in German. But I kind of see the language as a bit of a puzzle, because you can just put words together and it makes a new word, and it actually exists a lot of the time, so it's sort of fun to play with. I would say if you're interested in learning the language, don't be discouraged by the grammar, because unlike a lot of other languages where there's so many exceptions, like in English, in German you have the rules and then you've got it, so there you go. Just go ahead and give it a try.
German is great, like you have big long words, but I mean you can guess what it means by breaking it down. So for example, Handschuhe are shoes for the hand, which kind of makes sense.
Deutsch ist eine wunderschöne Sprache. Du solltest es wirklich lernen, auch sehr nützlich. Also bitte.
Are you a Fork and Tomatoes virgin? Well, we've got a treat for you. We've got plenty more videos for you to watch, and Subscribe to stay updated with all our latest news. And if you really liked it, please like below.